Hello, everybody. Welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am the Outback Al.
I'm hot for justice.
I'm cheating you.
And I'm Envy Jitters.
And what did we watch this week? We watched more Jojo. We watched some different kinds of Jojo. We watched all the we watched episodes of the old Jojo series. We watched episodes 7 through 9, or 7, 1, and 2, depending on how you want to determine it. Because episode 7 was the last episode of the OVAs made in the 2000s, and episodes 8 and 9 are the first and second episode of the original OVAs made in 1993. So we have a couple different comparative probably things to talk about this week. First off, what happened? So last time we left off, they were fighting an old woman who might be a young woman, but either way has two right hands and controls a magical sand mist creature called Justice to attack Mr. Polnareff. How's that working out for him?
Not going well for him.
No, it's not. Whole Horse was still alive, I guess. Kind of. Not really. A little bit. And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you." And she sends all of her zombies with flicking tongues. That was gross. To kill Polnareff, and he hides in the bathroom, a filthy, disgusting bathroom. Very oh god, we lost someone, I think. Oh, we got someone back.
Hi.
Yeah. So Polnareff's stuck in a bathroom because he can't get stabbed, because if he gets stabbed, it's gonna make a hole in whatever part of his body got stabbed, and she's gonna puppet control him with that hole.
Yep.
But it gets real quiet. All those zombies are looking for him, but it's real quiet outside. So he looks through the keyhole like an idiot, and a zombie tongue comes in and lashes his tongue. So he's got a hole in his tongue now that she controls to pull him out of the bathroom. She's like, "You're gonna die, but first, bad things are gonna happen to you because I'm gonna make you lick the toilet clean."
Yep.
Horrible. Horrible, horrible things. But then Jotaro shows up to help. And yeah, I guess he just didn't trust her from the beginning, and so she attacks him with zombies. But you know how physical attacks work with Jotaro, he just like throws everybody off. And God, what happened after that? I think she ran away, disappeared. And everyone's like, "Oh god, shit's happening. We should get out of here. Hey, we should not forget the old lady working behind a desk at the hotel. Well, let's get her out of here." And they all run out, and the town's full of zombies, and they have to get up on the roof, and oh god, everything's bad. And then they see the stand finally. It's a huge stand. It's enormous. It's a big old Grim Reaper looking dust monster in the sky.
Yeah.
And
But before that, Jotaro was the one that came into the bar and pretty much deduced that, Anaiba is full of shit. And
yeah, I said that.
Something
That's why she attacked him.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
Okay, are we cutting out that much?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so now they got to fight that thing, and it's really difficult. But it goes after them, but it gets blasted back by fire because Avdol's still alive somehow.
Yep.
So Avdol's alive because at the moment that the hangman stabbed him and Whole Horse shot him, the reaction of the stabbing thing made his head fly backwards a little bit, so he only got grazed on the forehead by Whole Horse's bullet, but they thought he was dead.
Yep.
Well, Polnareff thought he was dead.
Yeah, everyone else in the group kept it a secret from him.
Because you don't tell secrets to the idiot. And so he's back. He's been nursed back to health. He followed them to Saudi Arabia, and now he's here to lend some fire support to the Joestar team. But yeah, how do you beat a giant mist monster that can control people and can pull Polnareff off the roof by his tongue? It's very difficult. They're in a tight spot. But that is not a situation. There's never a situation where Jotaro is not ready to just, be the level-headed, cool guy that he is, and he just like pops a cigarette in his mouth, and he's like, "Hey, Avdol, give me a light." And Avdol gives him a light, and then he goes over to the old woman that Kakyoin has been carrying, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And everyone's like, "Hey, how are you? Why are you smoking like right now?" And he's like, funny thing about fighting all these stand users, I find that every stand user has a vein in their nose that pops out whenever they smell smoke, and everyone there like touches their nose to see if it's there, including the old woman, which proves that she's a stand user." And he's like, "I was bullshitting." good old Joestar trickery at play.
Yep.
I think he did Joseph proud there. But yeah, so the old lady is the hot lady.
Yep.
What is this
That's
craziness? They both have right hands. Everyone's got a right hand. And, yeah, now she's like, "Well, now I'm going to kill you with all these zombies and everything. And I'm going to drag Polnareff into the air with my stand." But she's having trouble now breathing because Jojo's stand can do basically anything that he needs it to. So Star Platinum starts...
Literally sucking in her stand.
Yeah, he just starts inhaling all the mist because it can do that now. And I think it's just one of those things where Star Platinum can just do whatever the plot requires. Yeah, so Star Platinum sucks away justice, which means that the old lady can't breathe anymore, I guess.
Yep.
And she is defeated, and they win, and Polnareff is fine, and they go to talk to the old lady, but the brain worms kill her before she can talk. And yeah, that's where we're at. And then they're like, "All right." And the town disappears because turns out it was also part of justice, and it disappears, and Whole Horse is dead, and they're off to Egypt.
Yep.
And that's the end of the 2000 series. What did we think about that episode? That and the 2000s anime as a whole?
Well, I mean, there was a few differences from the ending of that episode compared to the manga and the day of production show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for one thing, Adval, he comes back in the same way, but not against Sanaiba. Like, he comes back earlier. And also... Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. But, and then also, she doesn't die from the brainworm. Another character that wasn't in this show, Steely Dan, he's the one that kills her.
Steely Dan.
Yep.
All I'm thinking about is Oh Hello on Broadway now. Yeah, was that the main? I remember seeing the toilet thing in the other JoJo thing, and it was much more over the top dramatic. But to be fair, the whole production is much more over the top dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we think of as like? Was it a good series? This prequel, sequel, whatever these 7 episodes? Like, I know that most people are going to say the new JoJo is better, but like, is it worth rewatching some of these things?
For what it was, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, obviously they had to condense a lot of stuff down into 7 episodes, but for the most part, I thought they got the most important things right.
Okay.
It was aight.
It was
All
aight.
right.
That's it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
other things like could have been included, or maybe would you guys have switched anything around, or picked out some other things to put in there? Because I know there was probably a lot that was missing.
I think they took out the most fun part with like the cherries and the baby and everything.
Okay. I don't know entirely what all of that means, so I might actually have to go and watch real JoJo. Like, not real JoJo. This is real JoJo too, but like modern JoJo at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think I mentioned this before whenever we were first reviewing this particular series, and it does come across a little bit as generic and kind of like that, just that early 2000s, late 90s dark action kind of show. Again, it has a little bit more personality than some other ones, so it's an interesting kind of thing. It's kind of a little bit of a, I don't want to say a time capsule, but like I definitely see a lot of other shows that were coming out at the same time. A lot of like stuff that we were seeing in there with like some of the more muted color palettes and just kind of the style of it, I guess. This is really hard to describe in a certain way because it's like everyone, even if you've never seen the show, you know what new Jojo is like and how it's not like anything else in anime right now, or ever probably. And it's like you see that a little bit here, but it's also mixed in with like a ton of other stuff that you have seen elsewhere. So it's an interesting combo. I don't know, because I haven't seen all of modern JoJo. I don't know if it's better or worse. It's probably not as good because you don't get as much, but it might be worth a look for if people haven't seen it. So I'm going to say, for the most part, I'm going to give it a yay.
I mean, obviously, the modern show is probably better because it's pretty much a near one-to-one adaptation of the manga. But like, as far as like a piece of history, yeah, I'd say if you're remotely curious, I'd probably say if you're not a JoJo fan, it'd probably be better just to watch the modern show. But like, if you are a JoJo fan, I'd say if you're remotely curious, I'd say go check it out.
Yeah, that'd probably be the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Definitely for the hardcore fans. Maybe not so much for the not hardcore fans, because like I know Yin watched the first 3 episodes with me. They weren't super into it. Like it kept their attention, I think, but they were just kind of like, eh. But they're not a big JoJo fan anyway, so yeah. Chibs, what'd you think overall?
I mean, I thought it was okay. Like, I honestly prefer modern JoJo, as we already stated, like most people are going to. But I thought it was fine for what it was. I mean, I wasn't, like, on the edge of my seat really captivated by it. Mostly because I already know what's going to happen because I've seen the new one. But I don't know. I was like lacking a connection to the characters with this one. And granted, like, I'm not really attached to the characters in the other one, but I find them like a lot, I don't know, a lot more like likable, I guess. Not likable, I guess.
More endearing.
I mean, not even in that, but it's just like I'm more invested in them.
Do you think there's
mostly because they have more personality?
Do you think that's a result of like just having more screen time and more like little stories that you can actually like learn about them a little bit more? Because I was kind of having the same thing. I said like last week that Jojo was just boring. He was a little more interesting in this episode, but it kind of comes after I wasn't interested in him at all.
I mean, that's part of it, mostly because we do get a little bit more time with them in the new show. I guess it's also just like they really like lack dialogue in this show. Not that they don't talk, but I feel like they do a lot more talking than the other one. Mostly that's because they're like literally talking about what's going on like right as it's happening.
Yeah, I brought up that teleplay thing before.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm just like, it's a meh for me.
Okay. Alright. Well, we also started, or are continuing, or however you want to define this, we've also watched the 2 episodes of the 1993 OVAs.
Yep, going back in time.
Before we go into it, what do we think about the comparison of, like, animation style and everything? Because for the most part, the character models are mostly the same.
You can tell that 7 years went by in technology.
Yeah, it's kind of like I had the feeling like when I first started watching it of I don't know if you watch any of like the more recent episodes of Pokemon, but then you go back to like the first season of Pokemon, and you definitely see the difference in how they're animated. And there's like a lot of shows like that where it's like one is clearly done with some more digital tools, and one is like hand drawn cell animation a little bit more. I might be talking out my ass, like I don't know, but like yeah, the 93 one looked a lot more like old school, like we have to make it frame by frame without a computer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say like the 2000s ones didn't look also hand drawn, and like everything's still kind of hand drawn, but like you can tell there's a lot more digital tools and stuff that they use nowadays, and even in the 2000s, that made things a little bit easier, but it also changed the way overall that anime looked to some degree. Like the line work is a lot cleaner and bolder in the 2000s one than it is in the 93 one.
The shading's a lot more distinct.
Like that's
too.
that's another thing. Like coloring, the colors, the shading, all of that stuff. Because, you know, with the digital tools you can get into a little bit more detail sometimes than you can with especially on a TV budget.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the characters and stuff. Like I say that, and yet there's also stuff from the 80s like Akira that looks just beautiful, but again, that's a movie budget.
I was going to say, I think they probably didn't have that much of a budget, because like there was like early 90s shows like Dragon Ball Z or Yu Yu Hakusho or Trigon or Sailor Moon that obviously had a lot more resources put into it.
True, but those ones also kind of had something similar going on, like what I'm talking about, because like those were you
like
look at the early episodes, and it's still very. I know I'm probably wrong here, but I always called it like pencil anime versus like ink anime, because that's always what it kind of looked like to me. At least that's how I thought about it when I was younger. Is like more modern stuff looked like it was inked more because the lines are darker and bolder and shaded differently, and like the stuff before it looked lighter, like it was drawn by pencil. That's how I always thought of it. I know I'm wrong, and that it's not just pencil drawings, but that's at least
like,
how I describe it.
A lot of times, and I'm no animation expert, like at all.
I'm definitely not. I'm completely out of my ass.
But like, I feel like the thicker lines were kind of like they came more into popularity with it going into the 2000s, because you don't really see a whole lot of like really thick lines, like really defined lines so much like in earlier animes. Like if you look back at anything from like even like from the 70s through the 90s, it's all like a lot softer.
Yeah.
Like at least the line work.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm describing a little bit, because like if you draw a line with a pen or a line with a pencil, like the pencil always looks softer and like lighter. And that's kind of how I always thought about it, even though I know it's wrong now. But yeah, I think part of that comes down to like, you know, they were getting more digital tools, which made like line work a little more consistent across the board, as opposed to like having to hand draw everything and not be able to retouch anything at all. You know, certain things are going to look lighter because like as you're drawing, you know, maybe the pen or the brush or the whatever, it started to run a little bit more out of ink or whatever, and you weren't able to get like the perfect consistency across all the lines. That's at least what it felt like to me for comparisons of like eras of stuff. But yeah.
But if we're gonna keep talking about the art style, let's go into the episode, only because I need to like talk about an art style for a particular character.
You don't like Iggy, do you?
No, I don't.
I was going to
OVA
bring up
Iggy.
Kakuin is now a very dark brunette, but yeah.
Yes,
his earrings are
he
still
is.
weird. Where I just wanted to note that. They're weirder even like weirder now because they're like coming out of his ear canal.
Yeah, I mean, granted, modern Iggy still doesn't look, you know, amazing, even in David production. But yeah, like OVA Iggy is notorious for being.
I'm gonna just say this now, and I believe I remember this from when I was actually watching the second part of Stardust Crusaders. When they first introduced him, he looked god-awful. Horrible. Yeah. Like, super weird looking. And then as it went on, they made him look cute.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, like, he gets super, like, cute in later episodes, and I'm like, why did you draw him so messed up the first time? Make him cute so he endears himself to me. Because otherwise, I'm going to be really freaked out by this dog with the weird, shiny, blue, weirdly drawn eyeballs.
Is it weird for dogs to have blue eyes?
No, it's just the fact that there is so much detail in them. Like, they went ham on drawing his eyes and the eye crust and everything.
Oh.
And I'm like, stop! You gave him too much!
Well,
I think he was fine.
No.
He's an ugly baby, let him be.
Yeah, he doesn't look very like something that you would really want to take home or look at in this one. But like
well, for context, they go into Egypt, and the Speedwagon Foundation is giving him giving the Team Joe star a reinforcement, and they think, oh, another stand user, cool. Except the stand user is the Boston Terrier Iggy, who is a rat who likes coffee gum.
I didn't know gum came in coffee flavor.
You can find almost any flavor of gum in Japan.
Really? Interesting.
Oh, and he likes biting on people's hair and farting on people's faces.
Yeah, it's like they wanted to make the most like unappealing dog that they could for this, which normally I think like, oh, it's a dog. It can't be unappealing in any way, but like they manage it.
Yes.
Because I know that a dog gets killed in like Phantom Blood. Does the writer just hate dogs?
It's a joke about a Rocky, yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I know like Wes Anderson always kills a cat or a dog or something in his movies,
But yeah, in Phantom Blood, Dio kills Jonathan's dog. What's his name?
Yeah.
Speaking of, we do get like some flashes. Like we keep at least for these two episodes, they seem to be doing like some flashback setting kind of stuff for these, because I think they realized very early on we're starting at the back half of part 3 with no context of anything.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is going to only be for the people who like are big fans of JoJo and like know what's going on already.
Yeah, like I actually saw like the masks that came along in like what was it, seasons 1 and 2?
Yeah, the stone mask.
Yeah, the stone mask, and I was like, oh my god, they brought it in.
Yeah, I mean they kind of had to bring it up.
I actually was like really excited because I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this in forever.
Yeah. So everyone knows what's going on. I'm hoping you watched it, but if you didn't, we see flashbacks of an Aztec civilization who are sacrificing a young woman on top of a pyramid, and I'm going to say priest, or whoever it was sacrificing this woman, either chops off her head or cuts her neck or something.
Chops off her head.
Okay. And he takes the blood and pours it over the mask, and the mask grows claw, tentacle things that wrap into the guy's head, and I know it turns him into a vampire. It just kind of shines, and he screams and yells, and everyone's like, yay! So it's not, if you don't know what's going on, it's not 100% clear what's happening, but if you know, even like just general cursory knowledge of JoJo, you know this is a big, important moment, and it's really well animated. I feel like, and I kind of mentioned this last time whenever they did the flashbacks to Phantom Blood and Dio and all this other stuff. I think these animators really wanted to do Phantom Blood and that, but they knew they weren't going to be able to, so they're like, okay.
That's actually a funny story, if I can go off on a tiny tangent.
Yeah, I was just like, here's where we're going to get a quick opportunity to do the thing that we wanted to do, so we're going to put as much effort as we can into it. Go ahead, what's up?
The studio, I forget the name of the studio that made these two OVA series.
APPP?
They actually started to make a Phantom Blood movie that was supposed to come out in 2007. However, the initial test screenings were so bad, like Japanese audiences hated it so bad
Oh my
that they
God.
literally canceled the movie and they pretty much deleted all footage. So now a group of people on the internet, on the internet are actually trying to find as much clips and drawings from that movie as much as possible.
Oh my
It's like
God, they're
it's like
trying to do. Did you guys hear about the Thief and the Cobbler recobbled edition?
No.
Yeah, they basically exactly what you're saying. But have you guys seen the Thief and the Cobbler?
No.
No.
I've heard of it.
Oh God, this is gonna mean nothing to you guys. It was. You know what? I can't explain it well. If anyone listening is interested, look up Thief and the Cobbler recobbled edition, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, it's kind of the exact story that you're saying, where fans were trying to recreate this movie that was kind of edited, re-edited, and like chopped up by a whole bunch of different people, and like the original creator died, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and now fans are like trying to take all like the old storyboards and footage, like anything they can find, and recut it to the original director's wants. I think that'd be great to see with JoJo and this, because like, I mean, I think we've said before the new series is probably the better one, but it is still interesting to see these like very highly detailed, kind of violent, dark look at this show. Not to say that modern JoJo isn't dark, but it is a little hammy.
Yeah, I just looked it up now. Apparently, it did show like very limited in Japanese theaters, but the reception was like horrible. So that it's never been re-released and it's never been redistributed at all. So now
Can
fans
we find it somewhere?
Okay, but like,
no.
but that means somewhere out there, some theater had a tester or a screener version or something. Someone has something somewhere. At least a couple copies, possibly digital.
There's images that have been released, like concept art or like images that were apparently shown on screen, but like nobody can actually get solid clips of that movie. It's like an urban legend in the JoJo community.
I'm just going to throw it out there. With JoJo being as popular as it is right now, it's possible that eventually we could get that. I mean, who knows? Like,
I mean, maybe we could possibly get it maybe eventually, only if it like gets reworked enough and it tests well with the audiences.
I wouldn't even look at that. Yeah, no, don't even, like, because, I mean, if people spread around that among the JoJo community or something, if it's not already being spread around, I mean, like, clearly they had some level of a finished copy if they were willing to do a screen test for it. You have to have, like, your full movie done. It might not be perfectly edited to what you want, but, like, you have to have, like, everything basically there. So they have to have at least one copy that exists of this movie as it was. Who knows? Maybe at some point they could release it if enough people were into that idea. Because I mean, there's so many people like yelling for the Snyder cut or something.
I mean, unless like all copies of what was handed out to the theaters for the initial like premiere screenings like were all like taken back and then promptly destroyed.
Okay, I get that, but I mean, if you make something, you're gonna at least keep the master copy. Whether it's good or bad, there's like master copies of all the old bad movies that have been made over the years.
Yeah.
I think there was a reason why it bombed. I think like the film, even though it was only adapting the shortest manga part of JoJo, they got rid of a lot of stuff from it. Like apparently they didn't even have Speedwagon and Zeppeli in it.
Oh. That's gonna hurt.
So
you can't have JoJo without them, though.
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be good, but I'm still kind of fascinated to see what it would have been. What would that be without it? That because
apparently they made it like
he wouldn't be able to learn Haman without Zeppeli.
Well, maybe they had Zeppeli a little bit, but I know they didn't have Speedwagon. I didn't know that.
So wait a minute, where is Caesar in this?
Well,
no, that's
part 2.
Doing
battle tendencies. It would be doing Phantom Blood.
Oh, so they're only doing Phantom Blood?
Yeah, This
is going to be controversial, but of what I've seen in Phantom Blood, other than the fact that he eventually makes the Speedwagon Foundation, is Speedwagon actually necessary?
Yes.
Speedwagon's best.
Other than making the Speedwagon Foundation. What does he contribute?
He's the best friend anybody could ever ask for.
But what does he contribute to the plot?
He becomes like JoJo's number one ally.
People are going to hate me for this, I know. But
It's the Speedwagon Foundation. You already said it.
yeah, but that has no relevance to Phantom Blood.
He assists Jonathan in his
He's more
battle
useful
with
after his death than he is when he's alive. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, apparently the movie was like made in a very darker tone, like even more darker than sometimes JoJo can get, and it was like more realistic, like less flashy, and JoJo posing and all that stuff. So maybe that's why people were turned off by it.
I could see that.
So, like, more in line with the OVAs than, like, with what would become the new JoJo.
Yes.
You could argue
Well, I mean, if that was already
the
the tone... Well, I mean, if that was already the tone that they had set, given, like, previous things that were released, like, in an animated format, I can kind of see why they would go along that line. But that even calls into question, like, how popular were these OVAs?
I don't know for sure. I'm sure we could look up their reception and the release and whatnot. I know at the very least I had heard of them before Modern JoJo came out.
I had not.
I had watched a lot of like anime YouTube stuff that like went through a few things, but yeah, I don't know. I think they might be considered like cult series kind of thing.
But even then, like, stuff that's like considered a cult classic doesn't necessarily
I didn't say cult
do
classic.
well with,
I said
like, a
cult,
broad
like
audience.
cult following.
Well, like, anything that has like a cult following, like, might not always like mesh well with people who like aren't necessarily in that kind of like niche for what that sort of thing has, I guess.
Yeah, but like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's a bit of a distinction between cult following and cult classic. Caddyshack is a cult classic. Hands of Manos has a cult following.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You get what I'm saying.
Movie. Yeah.
But yeah, so like I feel like cult classics are like it's almost like a weird oxymoron at this point. Because, like, for the longest time, Blade Runner is a cult classic. Is it that anymore because so many people know about it and enjoy it that it's just more classic?
The mainstream now.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't say it's more cult anymore. I'd say it's just classic sci-fi.
Yeah, I feel like with recognition from like the internet and like so many people have so much access to stuff by now, I don't think there are cult classics anymore because now they're just considered classics. You don't have to like know a guy who knows a guy who has a copy of the movie anymore to check it out. Versus cult following, there might still be like niches for that. Like, I don't see people like selling a bunch of DVDs for Manos or Plan 9 from Outer Space or like some of these other movies. I'm mostly going with bad movies. I like bad movies, but yeah, I feel like back in the day, maybe JoJo just had a cult following of like a couple like really dedicated fans who enjoyed these OVAs. Probably because it was the only anime version they had. But, you know, now I think probably these things still have a cult following because everyone now just jumps on the modern JoJo bandwagon? Is that a good word for it? It's just so there now. I don't even know if it's bandwagon anymore. Anyway, this is just like a weird tangent about just nomenclature, I guess. Whatever, really. Either case, I think this was popular enough that people, at least groups of people, still knew about it. Anyway, maybe we should actually talk about what the episodes what happens in them. We've been like just going back and I find it interesting, like everyone talking about this stuff, but like maybe we should hit the plot at some point.
Well, I mean, we already said that Iggy is brought aboard as a new Stardust Crusader, and they're traveling along the road, and then
I have a question. and maybe they do it in modern. Do they ever call themselves Stardust Crusaders?
No, it's
Okay.
just it's just the name that people give it because the title of the show is the title of the part is Stardust Crusaders.
I didn't know if there was ever like a point where they're like where one of them is like, oh, we're the Stardust Crusaders. I don't know.
No.
But yeah. Iggy shows up. He's a stand user. He eats Polnareff's hair. He farts on his face. And then they drive off in the desert on a tractor. But then they have to go off in the distance. They see smoke coming from the distance, and it's a helicopter crash. It's the helicopter that had Iggy in it, and the pilots are there, and one of them drowned somehow in the desert, and a river flows from his mouth. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, everybody. There was a fish in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they find the other pilot, and he's like, water, need water. And they hand him a canteen, and then he's like, oh, no, it's in there. And the water in the canteen lashes out with a watery hand, grabs his head, rips it off, and then sucks it into the canteen in a bloody massacre-looking thing. Kind of awesome, kind of gruesome at the same time. What did you guys think of that?
I mean, JoJo can get gruesome.
Was modern JoJo like
Yes.
that gory?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
I mean,
I'm
yes,
missing out.
but they did censor it.
Okay, I was wondering. This is definitely
Like,
not
anytime you see, like, black over something,
Oh, that.
which
kind
there
of
was
thing.
a good bit of that means they censored it for, like, TV release.
Okay. I remember that when
So-
we watched another in Anime Club,
Yeah.
and it was like sometimes
They
the
also
whole
did it
screen
a
was
couple
basically black.
times. They also did it a couple times with, like, Phantom Blood and,
Battle tendencies.
Battle Tendencies. Yeah, sorry, it keeps slipping my mind.
It's not.
But
as
they
good of
did
a
that.
title.
No. But the thing is like they did that, and I remember this from like Anime Club because I'm like, they covered it up with black. I'm like, this is probably because of censorship, and that's mostly because like for regular TV audience, like they can't really have that much gore on the screen.
Yeah.
Like the only way you can really get the uncensored versions is by getting like the DVD copies. So
Well, this one apparently was only put on DVD copies or VHS or whatever because it's not censored at all. I think I
Nope.
saw that guy's esophagus being ripped out.
Yep.
Yeah, so that happened in WoW. And then they're like, oh god, there must be a stand inside the canteen. And it's the water. We saw some dude, a blind dude, walking around the desert, and he's like, I gotta kill everybody. Anyway, they're debating back and forth who should go poke some holes in the canteen or something. When the watery hand comes out and slashes Kakuin's eyes, and he's blind now. Maybe. I don't know. He at least got his eyes slashed, so he's blind for a little while. And then it tried to attack Polnareff, but I guess he got away from it. And they're running to get to the tractor again, because they have to run. They have to get out of here, and they do. And they're safe for a little bit, but then Iggy smells something. He jumps out of the car right before Joseph gets hit by the water through the windshield and cuts up his shoulder. And they crash. And that's where episode 8 ends. Uh-oh, for everybody. Then episode 9. I'm going to be honest. I liked episode 9 a lot. Because it reminded me of Tremors.
yeah.
I was hoping I wasn't going to be the only person feeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember why Polnareff didn't get hit by the water, because one of the bodies of the helicopter pilots, his wristwatch alarm went off, and so it attacked that thing. So the thing finds people by sound, which makes sense because the blind guy is controlling it. He can only hear them and figure out sonar-wise how and where to attack people. So everyone basically landed somewhere in the crash, and they have to sit there totally silent because otherwise the thing will come out and attack them.
Yeah, like Tremors.
It's great. If you haven't seen Tremors, go see Tremors. It's on all 5 films of Tremors are on Netflix, and I really want to marathon them. I've seen the first one, but I really need to go watch the other ones because apparently
you haven't seen the other ones.
I haven't. Tell me if I'm
Really?
if I'm right or not. The guy with the elephant gun from the first one, he basically becomes the main character, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love that guy.
So, I mean, I know I've watched at least up to movie 3 or 4.
This has now become a Tremors podcast. I'm totally cool with this.
No, but like
There's also a series.
The one episode
Yep.
that I actually remember about it, movie that I actually remember the most, and this only because this thing gave me nightmares, was the one where it's kind of like this ectoplasmic kind of squid-looking thing that like basically like it travels like through the night and it like glows. It like glows green. But it basically will soak up the moisture like straight out of your body.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen shit with
thing
that kind of
gave
stuff.
me nightmares. They actually trapped it using ice cubes.
Oh, well, spoiler.
I mean, hey,
This is-
it was interesting.
Like, that kind of stuff
But-
is so creepy. Like, do you guys remember the second episode of One Punch Man with the mosquitoes?
Yes,
Oh, I hate that.
that was.
That one guy trying to loot. Oh, that's nightmare fuel. Should we get back to Jojo, or should we just talk about Tremors? Go see Tremors. It's great. What else are you going to do during quarantine? Watch anime, of course. I don't know. So yeah, we're basically in Tremors right now. It's great. Polnareff's on a box, and everyone else is like, we gotta be quiet, we gotta not do anything, don't move, don't talk, don't do anything. But the blind guy already knows where everyone is when they landed because he's so good at this stuff. Because he's listening through his cane or something. He has a walking stick that he kind of sticks in the ground, and he's like listening for the vibrations on that thing.
Yeah.
So he knows basically where everything in the transport landed. So he's like, I'm gonna systematically just crush everything. And he was actually able to hit some of their water tanks. So the water stand has gotten bigger and stronger as a result of that. So he starts like, the water starts punching out of the ground and blowing up crates that just kind of landed places. And it's slowly making its way through the crash site to our protagonists. And they don't know what to do, and Polnareff is probably the first on the chopping block because he's on a crate next to a bunch of other crates. And he's like thinking, oh, should I jump over to the cart? Should I do this? Should I do that? He jumps at the last minute as the thing comes up out of the ground, and he survives. But they're in deep doo-doo. Then, and again, Tremors thinking, Avdol takes off some of his bracelets and starts throwing them increasing distances away, so it would sound like someone's walking away. And so the guy goes after that, and he's like, ooh, I'm going to make him go after these bracelets, and then as soon as the water shows up, I'm going to burn it away with my fire. And it almost works, but the guy's smarter than that. And like, that's some Tremors logic right there. I like that. I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to say it now. I think this episode is great because it really... We talked about this before, about, like, it's not how powerful your stand is, it's how you use it kind of thing. And, like, Jojo, you have to think through the situation a lot more than a lot of other anime and manga and stuff like that, because it's not just like, I'm going to have something super powerful and just destroy you. I'm going to find a way to work around whatever you got going on with whatever I got going on. And that's this whole episode, and I love it. But it doesn't work because at the last minute, the guy's like, wait, why did he only take 5 steps? This is a trap. And then he attacks Avdol and kind of like cuts through his neck. And I'm like, oh, great, Avdol's dead again.
Nah, it was just a flesh wound.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
Yep.
It was cool. And then they're like, he's probably like, he's gonna die. So I'll move on to the next guy. I know where the tractor landed, and old man Joseph is still stuck in it. And so now the big water stand turns the sand around the tractor into quicksand and is pulling the tractor in. What is Joseph going to do? I'd like to point out, someone said that Hermit Purple was, like, not as useful of a stand, and yet I've seen in a bunch of these episodes him using, like, the thorn vine things to basically Spider-Man swing around and do stuff like that.
It's not a very good attacking
I think
stand.
he has a pretty cool stand. It's at least, a good utility stand. But yeah, they're like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna save Joseph? How's Joseph gonna save himself? Because he's stuck in that car, in the tractor, whatever, the driver's seat. And Jotaro starts running, and he's running in a direction, and they're like, Jotaro, why are you running? Why is he running? And at first, the guy with the stand is thinking like, oh, he's running away, or no, but his pace and how he's running, I can tell how tall he is and all this other sort of stuff, but like he's running very confidently. Something's going on here. This must be Jotaro. If I kill Jotaro, Dio will be happy because he's the strongest.
Yeah.
Which he got all of that. He's got some serious Toph powers going on because he could just figure that all out right away just by listening to his footsteps. But Jotaro's running off, so the water comes after him. And they're like, Jotaro, what's he running for? What's he doing? He's going after Iggy. Because Iggy is still in the area.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's like, he grabs Iggy and he's like, you knew where it was. That's why you jumped out of the truck, you little jerk. And
maybe you can make up for it by smelling or locating where the guy's at.
Yep, and Iggy's like, oh shit, now I'm roped into this.
Mm-hmm.
So, Iggy smells where the attack is coming from. He activates his stand, the Fool, which we didn't really talk about very much. What exactly is the Fool?
It's like
sand.
It's made of sand, but like, what is it just a puppet kind of thing?
It's basically like, if you've ever seen anything where like you try to like think of like an enemy in like a video game or like a TV show where like the hero goes to punch them and then like a hole immediately cuts through them. It's kind of like that, but it can like take on the form of like this big giant masked griffin thing.
Okay, so it's basically just a big blob of sand that he can shape into stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, he activates the Fool, and it turns into glider mode, I guess. And he starts gliding off with Jotaro in tow, because Jotaro grabs on and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm using you now, you little jerk."
Yeah.
And this confuses Mr. Blind Man because he's like, "Oh my God, wait, he jumped, but he hasn't landed yet. What's going on? I don't understand. How is this possible? I don't know what's going on." Problem is, the Fool can't fly. It can only glide, so it's going to naturally go back to the ground. But they make it a distance before Jotaro uses Star Platinum to jump off the ground again and put them in the air more. And that's when the guy realizes, oh my God, the dog, his stand, it must be able to fly, but it can't fly very far. That's why Jotaro did that thing. And like, I'm again reminded of like that scene from Death Note where L and Light are playing tennis.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, in an instant, they know everything about what their opponent is doing. I'm like, God, everyone on the show is so damn smart. How can you have, like, godlike bodies like that and still be such geniuses? Life is unfair.
Not himbos.
Life
They're not
is
himbos.
unfair in anime. God, then what happened? Yeah, so he realizes
Jotaro has to make another jump to go further, and then the guy's like, "Oh wait, there you are! You're flying in the air." So I'm going to start shooting willy-nilly at you, and
well, sort of.
Hopefully
He figures out that they're heading towards him, and they might have a general idea of where his body's at, because now that they're higher up, Star Platinum can see where everything is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he starts like taking shots and like he starts. I think what he's doing, he starts blasting sand up from the ground with his water stand. It seemed willy-nilly, but I think it was a little more strategic than that. To see, he wanted to cover the Fool with sand or hit it with sand of some kind because that would make a sound. The Fool is flying without any sound because it's a glider. It didn't make sound like the helicopter. That's how he found the helicopter. But as soon as he starts hitting it with the sand, he can tell, based on the fact that there was impact in the air of some kind, where it was. So now he's able to tell where it is, and he starts hitting Jotaro. And damn, he is in a bad spot. But yeah, before the final blow is struck, he tore open a portal at the time and plunged him in the future. No, he didn't do that. He lands, he uses Star Platinum, grabs Iggy, and fucking yeets him.
I'm so glad they kept that in because that's one of my. I love that moment so much.
Yep. It was genius because they both had to use their stance to defend. Otherwise, they were going to have a head-on collision with a terrier going, I don't know how fast, but it was fast. So he recalls his stand, and then Jotaro, and then he's like, oh god, I gotta refigure out everything. Jeez, where's Jotaro now? And he's right behind him. Yeah, he cleared that distance fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now it's, and now the blind guy's like, okay, I guess I need to drop my cane. I'll need it on the way back, but I'll drop it for now because I gotta fight. And so the cane drops, and Iggy's just watching like, oh my god. Cane drops, and as soon as it hits the ground, that's their like draw moment, and Jotaro beats him to the punch with Star Platinum. And he goes down, and yeah, that's the end of Water Guy. Sort of. He ends up using his stand to kill himself. That way he doesn't reveal information, despite the fact that he talks for a pretty long time afterwards. He's an interesting guy. Apparently he worked with Dio because Dio was the only person who ever really like looked at him and saw potential, and he had murdered a lot of people and didn't really care about it, and you know, he'd always been blind, but you know, no one had ever defeated him. But Dio, he was frightening, and he didn't want to disappoint Dio and get killed by him. And he's like, Jotaro, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you anything about Dio other than the fact that he is unbeatable. But, you know, my stand is based off of a god, not a tarot card. And I respect you, and I pray for your luck. You're the only person that I wish I could have seen in life. And Jotaro's like, damn. You seem like a pretty cool guy. If only I had met you before you met Dio. Maybe we would have been on the same side. And everyone's like, yeah. So he buries him. Marks his grave with his cane. Then he gives Iggy a piece of coffee gum because he's like, hey, sorry about all that back there, but, you know, yeah. And then Iggy fetches Jotaro's hat, and it's covered in gum. Because the dog's a jerk. And yeah, then they're going to move on, try to find Dio. Mm-hmm. I've already gushed about this episode. What did you guys think?
I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I went ahead and pretty much binged this all in this week, like all 6 episodes.
Well, no spoilers. Just what did you think about these 2 episodes?
Well, I was just going to say, I like this, even though the animation is worse than the 2000 series, I actually like this series a lot more. Because it pretty much goes down...
That bad.
Well, no, it's worse compared to the 2000 series. That's what I mean.
Okay. I still think they put a lot of effort into it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Bless you.
Bless you.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the 2 episodes.
Oh, you're not going to sneeze again?
No.
Yeah, this was cool. Cool stand, cool villain, cool use of your own abilities and powers, very Tremors, very logic, very think the problem through. I only had one complaint. This would have been my thought about what to do about this guy after you find out that he can only find you by hearing your footsteps and whatnot. Why didn't they try sensory overload? Star Platinum can punch how many times a second? we don't need to know. A lot. Why didn't Star Platinum just bounce around punching the ground constantly while everybody just walked around?
They probably didn't think that far ahead.
I don't think it still would have worked because, like, the guy would still be alive.
No, but at the very least, they could have moved around or got to a better position, because how could the guy have been able to tell where they were walking when there was constantly things going on? It's like trying to hear a faucet drip in the middle of a rainstorm.
I don't know. I mean, he seemed pretty smart and good at what he could do, so I wouldn't put it past him to still be able to tell.
I think it would have been interesting to try it. But either way, it worked out for them in the end. Because it would. It's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I feel like I don't know. What else do we have to say about it? I feel like I've been talking too much. What else did you guys think?
Meh.
You're meh on this?
I don't really have any other thoughts.
Okay.
We'll definitely have a lot more to talk about next week.
Yeah, next week we're finishing the series. We're doing... Yep. What is it, episodes 10 through 13? And we're gonna see him. I don't know if he's gonna fight anyone before Dio, but he's definitely gonna fight Dio next week.
Without spoiling too much, yes, they
there's another
fight
person.
one more. They fight one person in episode 3, and then they get introduced to Dio in episode 4.
Okay. All right. I'm looking. Yeah. All right. I'm looking forward to that.
And episode 3 is probably one of the most memorable villains in the show in Stardust Crusaders history.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what's going on here. We'll see what happens with that.
Yep.
Oh God. Any final thoughts about anything? Any of the stuff?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Come back next week. Make sure you watch episodes 10 through 13 or episodes 4 through 6, depending on how you want to define this for the 1993 series, and the big old battle with Dio. And don't forget to watch Whisper of the Heart for our movie next week, because it's the end of the month. Well, it's not the end of the month, but this will be the last Sunday of the month, so... Yeah, we'll also announce what we'll be watching after JoJo then, and the movie for next month, and yeah, come join us, talk, and let us know how we don't know anything about animation, and how Tremors is amazing, and all these other things, so, yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and feel free to check out some of our other gaming videos, our weekly podcast Anime Yay or Nay, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!